Hi, BookTube. I'm Pat, back to share some more seasonal type reading plans with you. And oh, before I start, now this isn't, I'm just going to do it the first, but if there's any more of my knitter friends out there, this used to be kind of a knitting channel, but now I read more. But I want to tell you, I'm knitting a Christmas sweater, which I hope to wear before the end of the year. Now, I do have my Christmas sweater necklace on, but that's replacing the actual Christmas sweater, which I'll have later. Okay. I'm here today to talk about some of my reading plans and how I came about these plans. I am really enjoying this time of year, as I always do, with people showing their favorites of the year, and even in journals, the professionals are talking about their favorites of the year. And then here on BookTube, there's a lot of people making plans for their reading for next year, which I really have always thought that might be a good idea. Maybe if I did that, I would stick to it, and read more of what I plan to read. Anyway, so this video is talking about a little how I came upon this plan I have for 2024 reading. First of all, as you can tell by the thumbnail, it involves Steve Donoghue, one of my first friends on BookTube and most constant when on there. But I have to tell you, I think very few people know that Steve publishes a best of the year book list every year. Not only one, but I'd say 15 to 20 different lists with different categories. And they are wonderful. Typical Steve, he writes a little bit about each book and why he liked it or didn't like it, and with his ironic humor, and they're just fun to read. And I think also people don't know that he publishes, I think there's between 16 and 20 actual categories that come out one a day starting December 1st. And I'm giving you a link to them. He's already done, I guess, 10 or 11. He actually puts them out in the evening. But they are so fun to look forward to and look at. He puts 10 in each category. So we've had, I think, 10 categories now. Anyway. And they're just unusual in the books in them. But anyway, I've always just loved this. And uncharacteristically of Steve, he doesn't talk about these lists much. I said something to him and about it. He says, well, people that want to see him will see him. Now, the thing is, they are in his openlettersreview.com website. And I guess maybe I forget to look there sometime, but they'll all be there. Even the past years, he's done it. Well, I've watched him do it now for 6 years. And I learned so much about the books he's read that I haven't heard him talk about any other place. So I thought I'd take a harder look at this year and even talk about it, maybe get you guys to look at it. Click on that thing, and I think he's got 6 more to go. I think he's put 10 out, and he's got 6 more to go, and they're the very best. He saves the best for last. He'll have best fiction, best nonfiction. He also puts in worst fiction and worst nonfiction. 10, and he puts 10 books in each one, going from 10 to 1. Now he says it's not all really rated. I mean, they're all his favorites, but number 1 is always really number 1. And so I kind of concentrate on that, but all of them are good. Anyway, I have reasons why I love these lists that Steve puts out, and I'll go into them a little bit. First of all, with 15 or 20 different categories with 10 books each in them, there are a lot of books in there. And you only get them 10 a day, so I can look at them up and think about what I want to read and everything. And that's much more than you see in many lists. So it'd be 150 to 200 books in all. And would you know, I've hardly heard of any of them. I mean, they're not horribly hard to find or anything like that. But here's the number 2 reason why his are the best. I think Steve talks about books he has actually read rather than read about. in somebody else's list or something. I think we all kind of know that this time of year we keep seeing the same ones cropping up in different lists, especially those of us who follow the prizes. And it gets like, oh no, not that again. But almost all of his I have never heard of. Now, they're not, as I said, they're not weird. They're literary fiction in some cases and transfer. But anyway, I'll get to that. But they're just so interesting in the way he picks them. You know he's read them. And I don't think he gets hints from anybody else on what's going to be good. I think he decides. Let's see. Okay, where am I on my numbers? Yeah. Okay, how did I get? Anyway, well, they come out daily, and there'll be 6 more of them. So he puts them out at night. So start watching tonight. You can see the 10 he's already put out, which I'll be talking about a little bit. I also like the fact that, Steve, he writes. He doesn't just put down lists. And in each category, he writes kind of a summation of that category and how he feels like it's done that year as opposed to other years. And then each book, and especially number 1, he will talk about why he thinks they deserve a place and everything. And it's just a wonderful little thing to look forward to every night now when he puts them out. So, what am I? Okay. Oh, here's the main thing I really love about his list. A lot of his lists, I would say, especially the science fiction, the historical fiction, the mystery, he will choose books that are part of series. And he, like many of us, is nervous about starting in the middle of a series. I know many of us readers just don't like to do that. So he even tells books that are part of a series and have books written before him, prequels, like I'll call it. He tells you if you really need to have read other books in the series to get the most out of this book. And some of them you do. Some of them he says you're not even going to know what this book's about unless you read the previous book, which I'll get to in a minute. I plan to be doing. Anyway, and some just have the same characters. So anyway, I like that. Let's see. Did I have... Anyway, I could think of more even if I didn't have 5, but they're really wonderful. They're the best lists of the year for sure. Okay, my plan for the new year is I have copies of all his lists now, and I've looked through them, what I might like to read, and I've also looked to see which of them are parts of series that I need to read something else before I start reading his list. And I don't plan to start till the new year. So I've been through and I've picked out which ones I need to read. I'm giving myself to the end of this year to read what I call the prequels, the series that I need to have read something else before I get to the book in his list. So I'll be doing those for the rest of the year and try to get up to speed. And it'll give me more comparison when I read the actual book if I've read the one before. Anyway, so I thought I'd get into and show you just a little bit about some of his, where am I at here? Some of his books that have come up lately and some of the more interesting categories. One of the categories is called reprints, and it is actually books that have been reprinted and something added to them, either a forward or something's changed, or sometimes the author writes about what he was thinking about back then. Anyway, this first one I have, The Complete Persepolis, is a reprint, and this is also the 20th anniversary edition. This is almost a classic story of a young woman who grows up in Iran, I believe, or is it Iraq? I haven't read it yet, obviously. And it's supposed to be very well known. Now, my library doesn't have the newest copy yet, but it has the older copy, so that'll be good enough. I do plan to read that. Anyway, the next one, Steve has all the lists of all the books he likes, and he's not bashful about saying he likes romance. And there's actually a category of romance. So I will just, I'm going to try him. And he makes a good case of why why he likes them. I mean, the same reason all of us like escapist literature. It's just when you're having a bad day, it's fun to read something you just plain enjoy. Anyway, here's his number one on the romance list called Yours Truly, The Duke. And I already checked. It's out. It's at our library. Plus, it's not very expensive. I'm going to try the number one, just see how it does. And he kind of gives a little lead in it's actually about a woman who's adopted some nieces and nephews, and the court's trying to take them away, and she feels like if she gets a husband or fake husband, they'll let her keep the kids. So I think that's where the Duke comes in. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is his translations. Now, these aren't always new books, but they're new translations. And one of the ones I've heard a lot about this year is the translator Michael Katz, who has done several Russian novels translated to great praise from specialists. And there's one on the Brothers Karamazov, which is on his list. He actually did one on Crime and Punishment, which I think I'll read instead of this one. Heck, it's my reading plan, because I think it's more simple for a first-time Dostoevsky reader to read it. But I was glad to see that. And it'll be interesting for you to look at the translated. That's not on any of the translated lists that we prize people have been seeing. Some of them are retranslations, and anyway, older books. Okay, let's see. What do I have next? Oh, okay, two more. One of his categories is nature. It was a couple of days ago, and he actually prefaces it with a little paragraph of how it's kind of hard to be joyful about reading books about nature these days when so much of it is burning and overcome with heat, etc. But he did a good job, and most of them are, the first 9 I think are about animals. Steve loves animals. I mean, turtles, beetles, 2 about owls, all kinds. But the number one is not about animals. It's about plants. It's called Planta Sapiens, I guess. And it calls it the new science of plant intelligence. And it goes, and I've heard a little bit about this subject, that there's new feelings that plants can communicate and learn and remember. And this came up in Richard Powers' book that was written maybe several years ago called The Overstory. And it was, I think that's the name of it. Anyway, it was about a bunch of trees and versus the thought that maybe they could be communicating underground. It was really interesting then. I'm sure there's been a lot more things written about it, but I actually got this one at my library already, and I'm anxious to read it. Okay, one last one he's put out is the science, best science ones. And luckily, I mean, they're ones that people can understand, which is what I need. I mean, not scientists especially. A lot of interesting topics, but the very best is his number one, and I can't wait to read it, and I think you guys will be into it too. It's called, can you see that? The Science of Reading. And it deals about studies that are done of what actually happens when you read, what your eyes are doing, what your mind is doing. Do we really lose ourselves as much as we feel like we do when we're reading a good book? I can't wait to get to that one. And it's on Scrib, not Scrib. Scrib has a new name called Everand, but it's still part of Scrib. Anyway, join Scrib, and you'll see a lot of these books are on there. So that's it for the day. I hope to be back a couple times before the end of the year as I go through some of the prequels to some of the series. I don't want to start any of the actual books on the list till the new year. But I have a lot of reading to do to catch up and get ready for the list. So talk to you later. Have a happy holidays. Bye.